Hello and welcome to My Career in Data, a podcast where we discuss with industry leaders and experts how they have built their careers. I'm your host, Shannon Kemp, and today we're talking to Mathias Vercauteren from Vantage Consulting.
More and more companies are considering investing in data literacy education, but still have questions about its value, purpose, and how to get the ball rolling. Introducing the newest monthly webinar series from DATAVERSITY, Elevating Enterprise Data Literacy, where we discuss the landscape of data literacy and answer your burning questions. Learn more about this new series and register for free at dataversity.net.
Hello and welcome. My name is Shannon Kemp, and I'm the Chief Digital Officer at DATAVERSITY, and this is My Career in Data, a DATAVERSITY Talks podcast dedicated to learning from those who have careers in data management, to understand how they got there, and to talk with people who help make those careers a little bit easier. To keep up to date in the latest in data management education, go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Today, we are joined by Mathias Vercauteren, the president and principal at DataVantage Consulting. And normally, this is where a podcast host would read a short bio of the guest, but in this podcast, your bio is what we're here to talk about. Mathias, hello and welcome.
Hello, Shannon. Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here. We got to hang out at our last conference, and it was just so much fun. So I'm so excited to hear more about your bio and how you got into consulting. So let's start there. So you're the president and principal at DataVantage Consulting. So tell me, what type of business is DataVantage Consulting? What do you do?
DataVantage Consulting is a company that offers basically, consulting, advisory, and educational services focused on data governance. That's it, data governance, with a specialization as well in change management, because I think it goes hand in hand, and data quality as well, because that's, to me, one of the most obvious pain points. So that's what we do. So we help basically big corporates to mid-sized companies in various industries create, set up, implement data governance programs. And I've started this firm about 3 years ago, back in 2021. Initially, it went under my own personal name, but I changed the naming, to be a bit more, recognizable to DataVantage Consulting. And I think what sets us apart is we categorize our services in basically three categories. So inspire, guide, and empower. So with inspire, like it says, we try to inspire companies and make them aware about, what is data governance, what can it mean to me. So that are, workshops, seminars, board information, awareness sessions, things like that, keynote speeches as well. Then the bulk of the work, the consulting, is the guiding part, is where we really do, the pragmatic, practical, step-by-step guidance of these companies in setting up, data governance programs. And that's a variety going from, auditing and assessments, studies around data governance to, I'm talking about a lot about strategy sprints, design sprints in data governance, so doing that as well, to full-blown data governance implementation. But it's all in the sphere of data governance. And then finally, you have, the empower thing, is that it's really, enabling the companies to put the governance in practice. So doing a lot of training, coaching, focusing on that stewardship, that culture, and that kind of thing, and ongoing support as well. And that's what DataVantage Consulting basically is all about.
Love it. And in the community, data governance is a very common thing. So how would you define data governance, and how do you explain it to the companies and explain it, why it's so important and why they need to invest in it?
So I have one go-to definition. So data governance, to me, is basically another form of asset management. And so I'm involved also in lots of pre-sales conversations and basically, making people aware of what it is. And I have this simple explanation where I say, look, um, you're a company, you're a business owner, you're a CEO, CDO, and yeah, your company has an objective. So you can be a sausage factory trying to produce sausages, or you can be a big bank, insurance company trying to sell insurances, or a hospital, taking care of people. But you have an objective as a company. And to complete that objective, you have some assets that you need to, put to work. If obviously you have people working in your company, you have money that budgets for sales teams, budget for marketing teams, you have facilities, and go on and go on. And of course, and you hear me coming, you also have data. And data is also an asset. And that's a bit the mindset that I try to get into people. Because if I take away the data from your company, then yeah, if I take away your customer data, then who are you going to sell your products to? So, getting that awareness about, okay, our data is an asset, and perhaps we should treat it with the same rigor as we do with our money and with our people. And that's what data governance is about. It's setting up these guardrails, these policies, procedure, and I one comparison I often make is I compare it with human resource management, because that's something that a lot of business people I talk to can relate to. Is HR, an HR department, they set out rules and guidelines how managers and people in the business, work with people, what guiding principles they should, follow. We don't discriminate and all these kind of things. And also there are policies on how to hire people, take performance reviews, all these kind of things. So they set out the rules, and that's what I also try to do with data governance is, we set out the rules, how you treat the data. And that's how I see uh, data governance and how I explains it. And it amazes me that it's still a big mindset shift that needs to happen with a lot of business owners and business people, or even IT people as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it really is a big need out there, which is why I ask, because we get asked by our community a lot, and how do I explain to our executives that this is
Mm,
such an important thing.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay, so we know where you are now, what you're doing, this awesome thing. So let's kind of get into it. So tell me, was this the dream when you were very young, like say 6 years old? Was this a dream?
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I'm going to be a data governance consultant. What
Yeah.
was the dream?
No, back when I was younger, I wanted actually to become a movie director.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I was big into movies. So in back in high school, I switched to a high school which was focusing on, arts, with a specialization in photography and film. So I went to that high school. Once I graduated there, I started a course or a minor, how do you say it? Yeah, minor in movie directing at a
Mm-hmm.
famous art college here in Ghent in Belgium. Um, and I started out, and it was really fun. But then I also got other courses like philosophy and art history, and I was really more into that theoretical lecture part than practical movie directing, technical kind of things and lightning and all that kind of thing. And so it was a bit of a dream that was shattered, like, is this movie directing? And I was more into those philosophy courses. So I dropped out of the art college, went to the university, did an attempt to graduate at philosophy, but I didn't went very far. Took it like half a year, and then switched to sociology. Um, so which is a bit of an in between, which also has to do with a lot of data. So I got statistics and all these kind of things. So I graduated with sociology as a bachelor's degree. And then at the point that I needed to go to my master's degree, I started to, Google job opportunities for sociologists. And so that wasn't so, looking very bright. So it was either academics or, yeah, nothing else more than that. So I completed a master's degree in business economics because an economics degree opens more doors. And so I ended up doing that. So yeah, again, very far from the movie directing, but still not at the data part. And so yeah, I graduated with a master's degree in business economics.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's, and that's not too untypical to, as self-discovery, trying to figure out who we are, what we like, as part of the university experience, I think.
Yeah.
But okay, so tell me, so you graduated, you have your master's.
Yeah.
So tell me about your jobs after that.
Yeah. Basically my life is like a sequence of following my passions and what I'm passionate about. So it went from movie directing to philosophy, sociology, economics. Um, but then so I still needed to write my thesis at the last year. So I had a bit of spare time and lots of my friends were already graduated. So took me a bit longer. And so they were already working. And so I thought, perhaps I can combine writing my thesis and working. So I started to look for a job. And so one of the obvious, jobs you can get with an economics degree is a sales job. So I landed this sales representative job at a company called Hilti. So Hilti is a big global company. They manufacture and sell products for the construction industry, for the professional end users, drilling
Mhm.
machines and anchoring systems. And so as a young guy, I drove these typical red cars, went to construction sites, sell drilling machines, and then in the evening complete writing my thesis and doing a bit of research. So those, but it was fun because as a student back then, you one of the benefits was you get a company car, you get a laptop, you get a cell
Oh,
phone. So it was like,
yeah.
yeah, it's a win-win,
Yeah.
and I got money. So that was the first job, and it was being a sales representative that I got into the data, because suddenly I had the ownership of the customer and contact detail data of plumbers. I was responsible for plumbers in my region, from like 300 plumbers, and those company data, and needed to manage it. And I was so into cleaning it up and making the data quality look better. And I don't have that guy's email address. I need to have that guy's email address because I know, yeah, then I can mail him and I can do, marketing activities. And so I was really into that data part without even knowing, what was data quality, what was master data. So and couple of months into the sales representative job, there was this vacancy at the headquarters in Brussels for, they called it, was called local process expert market reach. So it was a very fancy title to say, hey, look, you're a data guy and you will look after the quality and the master data and a bit of the governance of the customer data. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And so that was my introduction into data. And then suddenly I was responsible for, setting up data quality initiatives for all the sales representatives to increase the data quality, managing the master data in SAP, following policies which were still made corporate, following and implementing the policies locally. So I was doing all this data stuff, which was new to me. But it really, I really I find it very, attractive, and it's satisfying. And And because there weren't, that was back in 2011, so 13 years already. But I was not familiar with DATAVERSITY back then. Yeah, so I bought every book on data that was there. So got the book from Bob Seiner, got the first book from John Ladley, Enterprise Information Enterprise Management. Got the DM book. Started to read up. And so that's how I became familiar with data governance. To continue the story, a couple of years into that job, I switched to, I wanted to take it up, next step, more into data governance, because that was fascinating me. And there was this data governance expert role at the biggest chocolate factory in the world, Barry Callebaut. So they make, and one of the biggest factories is in Belgium. So they make chocolate for, from here up until China, Australia, America. And I was responsible. They were just rolling out the data governance for the product master data, and Colibra just had set a proof of concept up there, and so they wanted me to roll it further out for customer master data, vendor master data. So I went to Barry Callebaut, stayed there for 4 years, and that was really my learning school. So everything I learned, put in practice, was responsible for a lot of data migration projects, was responsible for the quality, the master data, the governance, for the customer master data. And so that was really my learning school. And so long story short, after that, I went into consulting. Been doing consulting now for 6 years. Did projects at big companies in retail, banking, insurance, government even. And 3 years ago, started Data Vantage Consulting. And before you know it, you're 13 years, more than a decade doing data governance. And then you look back and say, whoa, okay.
I love that journey. Okay, so first off, if in case anybody does not know, Belgium is home to some of the best chocolate in the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how fun that you have to spend some of your journey there.
Yeah, it's even like this. So there's this food claim, which is Belgian chocolate. So it's an official claim. You can only put on a chocolate product if it originates from Belgium. So, and I think it are the Japanese. They really love Belgian chocolate, or the Chinese. So what they really want Belgian chocolate, which means that, chocolate comes in many forms. You have the bars, the solid ones, but they also produce liquid chocolate, to create other products from. So the chocolate factory was in this little town in Belgium. So what happened on a daily basis, these containers with liquid chocolate, they had like these ventilation kind of systems running 24/7 to keep the chocolate liquid. They drove it with trucks to the port. It was shipped on a boat, and that chocolate, still being liquid, sailed across the globe to land in Japan and China and Australia, where they want true Belgian chocolate. So that happens on a daily basis from this small town that's the largest chocolate factory in Europe or the world. That was
That's amazing.
kind of a supply chain over there. Yeah.
I can understand why there's a high demand. Having experienced Belgian chocolate in Belgium, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, but I digress. We're here to talk about data.
With a robust catalog of courses offered on demand and industry-leading live online sessions throughout the year, the DATAVERSITY Training Center is your launchpad for career success. Browse the complete catalog at training.dataversity.net and use code DVTalks for 20% off your purchase.
So, okay, so tell me, why did you decide to start your own consulting company?
Um, because I always have this entrepreneurial spirit in me. So I did previous attempts to start a consulting company. This DataVantage Consulting is the first one that really works. But yeah, I love doing it. And I think I love doing it also because sounds strange, but I really have a passion for data governance. I really believe it's one of the major, management things that need to happen. And so I love helping, lots of companies. I have fun in helping them. I have fun in doing it. I have fun in seeing it become a success. And so I thought, yeah, the best way to do it is start a consulting firm and help them that way instead of, taking this job for 3 years, going to another job, another job. So want to reach as many people as possible. And so that's the reason why I started the company, alongside also, the thing of being free more, and being able, because I can make my own choices as an entrepreneur, to take on opportunities like speaking at DGIQ and so on. So that's are the main motivators to starting my own company.
I love it. It truly is a story, an end-to-end story, as diverse as it is, of
Yeah,
following your passion. And yeah,
yeah.
and we do not find it weird at all in this community that data governance is a passion. It's a great thing.
Yeah. And perhaps to make the circle round, I can create a movie about data governance. And so at the end, I'm still a movie director.
I want to see that. Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So,
I
do you
need to
still,
see
yeah,
if Brad Pitt is available to play the data governance officer.
that would be amazing. So, well, tell me though, so in this journey, what has been your biggest lesson so far in your career?
Um, biggest lesson is so my journey has been with ups and downs, but I think one of the things, like I said previously, it's a chain of following my passion. So, so my passion went from movie directing up until data governance. Also now, for example, I have always also had a passion to write a book. So at the moment, I took the leap. I'm writing a book. I have contacts with publishers also. So I hope this year still my book comes out. It's about the strategy sprint, design sprint, and data governance. So it's taking that leap, and either you win or you learn from your mistakes. I made a lot of mistakes over the decade and before that. And to me, it's always, if I look back, I reflect on it and I see it as a learning opportunity, which I can capitalize on and learn from, and then create a win. I could always look back and say, why didn't I finish that degree, or why did I, dropped off art school? And so, but to me, it's, following my passion. And so that's a bit my motivation. And
It's it's great. Yeah, no, I love it. And I love that lesson of um taking a leap and not being afraid to fail,
yeah,
and that those failures are an important part of
yeah.
taking the next leap.
Yeah, the same for, starting a company and being an entrepreneur is one of the biggest leap that somebody can make, because, I was in, we call this golden cage at Barcalaba. I had a very good job, well paid, company car, whatever you name it, in a big corporate. But I chose to leave that all behind and go for the insecurity of consultancy and being an independent a freelance consultant and finding my own gigs, doing my own marketing and creating my own invoices, hoping that the client will pay within 30 days. So, but by taking the leap, you win also kind of things. So yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. So now having worked with data for so long, and we talked about your definition of data governance, but what's your definition of data?
My definition of data. Um, to me, data, and I see data like everywhere. So it's indeed like the typical ones and zeros, but it's also, an email is also data. Um, when I watch Netflix, it's also data. And so basically data to me is like, kind of information that you act upon. So, for example, if I need to, so I'm the chef at home, so I plan the week menu, and to plan the week menu, I go to my, my cupboard and my stock and see, okay, okay, do I still have pasta? Okay, 1 pack. I need 2 packs. So you're basically looking at the data and planning and making decision. And the same goes in business. If you're doing, your sales forecast, you look at the numbers and you make decisions on what you're going to do, or you want to optimize some processes to reduce costs, all these kind of things. So data to me are like these essential pieces of information that you use to make decisions upon, and that's why I also see it as an asset, because if you take it away, especially in a business context, then yeah, you don't have anything more than basically an empty box with people in it, and so you need it to, make decisions, plan, make you operational, get your objectives there. So that's a bit how I look to data.
Makes sense. It's a great definition. So, do you see then the importance of data management and the number of jobs working with data increasing or decreasing over the next 10 years, and why?
Uh, that's a very good question. And I'm following a lot of trends and what's happening, and I really am super convinced that it will only increase. And I see a couple of reasons there is, um, first of all, I see that there's this uh, big shift is happening in the workforce, in companies. So you have the boomers, which are typically people who are at a company for quite a while. They have a lot of knowledge about processes, data assets, all these kind of things. And they are retiring very, very soon. So you have this, drain of knowledge. But on the other side, you have the generations after the boomers, which tend to be more people, and I'm one of them, who are more looking towards, career opportunities and job hopping. So you have this struggle of companies to keep that institutional knowledge
Mm.
with them, meaning that they now need to think, okay, perhaps we need a business glossary and a data dictionary, and perhaps we need to put those processes, document them before that John or Marcia goes on retirement, or Peter leaves for another C-level job at another company. So I see that happening. So, which also involves, more jobs. Second, especially in Europe, we have a lot of regulations coming up. And one of the biggest ones is related to sustainability and ESG. It's called CSRD, which stands for Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directives, meaning that a lot of companies, more than 10,000 across Europe, will be obliged to report on what they do, environmentally, socially, governance-wise in the upcoming years. That brings with it that they need to find the data, find people who, can report on the data, make it qualitative, make it, governed. So that only that regulation, and you have the AI Act, you have the Data Act coming up as well. So all these regulations will trigger also jobs. And then thirdly, what I see is, of course, you have AI. And now, just over the course of 1 year, you have the explosion of generative AI, and all these companies like, what do we need to do with that? So, and also with other AI applications, and hopefully they have that mindset that, okay, data triggers or is the fuel to AI models. So being garbage in, garbage out, managing the data properly would get us more better AI results. So also that triggers to me, an increase in jobs. So you have these like internal, external demands on companies, and I see an increase in on C-level and shareholder level on the importance of data governance, putting them more and more and at the top three strategic things. This will bring jobs. And to give a little side story here, we have this television program here in Belgium called The 80s for Teenagers. And so it's about a television host who takes the teenagers on a journey through each year of the 80s. And so I was watching the one about 1980. And so they talk about the music and what's happened, and they show newsreels. And there was this newsreel where they said, hey, look, there's something new at 1980. It's called the chip. And so the chip, it's a job killer. It will replace everybody. It's a real job killer. So if you reflect back on it 40 years later, you see, well, that was one of the biggest opportunities ever. And it will be that it replaced some jobs, the same with AI, but it created so much more jobs. And I'm convinced that data and AI alone will do it as well. So that's, I think, yeah, it will increase.
I love that perspective, especially, and there's been a lot of talk around AI and things like that, but I love the perspective of a generation who's retiring and retaining that knowledge. I don't think there's a lot of companies who think about that and should, because you're
Yeah,
right, that's a lot of knowledge that goes with them.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mhm,
It's a brain
mhm.
drain. Yeah.
Yep, for sure. So, what advice would you give to people looking into getting into a career in data management, maybe even specifically data governance?
I would say, and I think it's one of the best advices is read a book.
Hmm.
It's tempting for people to uh, listen to a podcast that also helps, and read articles, but reading a book of somebody who really put time and effort in researching the material, putting all their experience over the past years into one copy, that really helped. It helped me. So and if people want, a book recommendation list, feel free to reach out. But a book is the best thing. I read a book. It's from Stephen Kotler. It's Peak Performance. And in his book, he also mentions, hey, look, if you want the best time investment and value for your time investment, just read a book. That's one thing. And second, take courses like DATAVERSITY. It's an awesome platform. I don't get any, money for saying this, but it's one of the best things of people, um, my peers like John Latley and Kelly O'Neill, the Net. They're really great courses, giving all their expertise out there. And if you really want to have, crash course in it, do that, and connect with people. Everybody, especially at conferences, everybody has some data war stories, things that they encounter,
Hmm.
things that don't go well, mistakes that people made. Try to get these as well. And I think if you combine those, that will already give you a good, solid foundation. And then secondly is, yeah, you need to do it. Find a job that really gets you your boots on and your hands dirty, and try to, manage data and do data governance. And that would be my advice.
Oh, great advice. And one of my favorite things and about this community, the community of data practitioners, is everybody's so willing to help each other out. Everybody loves
Yeah,
talking about data. Nobody is gonna judge for questions. It's just really great community.
it's amazing. I was when I was at DGIQ in Washington last year, I
Mhm.
was so amazed of how approachable everybody was. Like John Ladley and Bob Seiner, they are like rock stars to me. But I ended up having dinner with them and
Yeah.
talking about them and having their cell phones, and they're so approachable and they give
Mhm.
so much value of their expertise, and it's so great. So to very thankful community, the data governance, data quality community. Yeah.
Well, Matthias, thank you so much. This has been so fun to learn about your
Yeah, it is.
journey.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed you know talking about my passion.
Well, thank you. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask if somebody wanted to solicit your consulting services, how would they find you?
Just go to datavanageconsulting.com, and there's everything we do on Inspire, Guide, Empower. It's all there. It also links to my personal website, mathiasvercauteren.com, where you can also see my speaking engagement, my articles I wrote. So those are the two sources to check.
Well, that's great. And we'll get those links posted to our website as well to the
Yeah.
podcast. Oh, well, again, thank you so much for this great conversation.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was a really honor, and it's a real pleasure to be here. So thanks a lot, Shannon.
Oh, likewise. And to all of our listeners out there, if you'd like to keep up to date in the latest podcasts and in the latest in data management education, you may go to dataversity.net/subscribe. Until next time, stay curious, everyone. Thank you for listening to DataVersity Talks, a podcast brought to you by DataVersity. Subscribe to our newsletter for podcast updates and information about our free educational webinars at dataversity.net/subscribe.